we're going to start off with our Guinness House of Rugby Hall of Fame. So this week, ahead of the Champions, or after the Champions Cup games, and there was lots of exciting games there this weekend, we asked you on our Twitter and our Facebook pages to talk about your highlight of the weekend. And I am delighted, as a Munster woman, that Len Carmody and Shane Cook both shared great images of CJ Stander smiling at the Claremont boys as Munster won another great penalty. So I'm sure you guys saw that on Twitter over the weekend, the picture of CJ smiling. That must be awful for an opposition team when he's getting into your head doing that. Ian, what do you think?
Was that CJ? Was that the one of them in the mall and he was kind of smiling? Yeah. I've spoken to Marcell a bit about this. I'd love to be getting involved in a few more malls because they just look very enjoyable. For the backs, we're out there running around, doing all passing. It's difficult. You're working your core. You're out in the elements. I look over at the forwards and they're all snug, pushing against each other. It just looks enjoyable. It goes well. Everyone's there ass tapping each other afterwards. Look at CJ's face there. He's loving every bit of it.
Yeah, it's enjoyable when it goes well, but if it doesn't going well, then it's another expression you can give, So, no, Ian, look, I'll always back you, my man, but not this time. I'm sorry. I know you do your job very, very well. Let's keep it at that, eh?
Every so often you hear the lads going, yeah, but you're in there and there's people stepping on your toes. It's like, oh God, here we go.
I have absolutely no
the shin
idea.
Kicks and
I'd be the person at the back of the scrum when if someone needed an extra flanker, if someone happened to go off and you needed a flanker, I don't think I'd even know where to put hands. I would be that person that there would be highlight reels actually made of how awful I would be, even in a mall. Wouldn't even know how to join a mall. So maybe 2021 might be the year, Ian, for the two of us to start joining up those malls.
Maybe get us on the back of it, dotting the ball down for the try.
Anyway, we'll stop talking about malls and we will mention the Munster win at the weekend against Claremont. I think as a Munster supporter, as a Munster player, I'm still living on the high of that game at the weekend. I'm sure you've heard the hype of the game. They were very, very slow to start. They were down quite a bit, 28-9 at half-time, and managed to pull it back in typical Munster fashion.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was really tough going behind away from home, and I think it's another example as well of not to take away from the achievement. It's obviously fantastic, but with supporters not in the stadiums, we are definitely seeing more teams winning away from home in the competition than we usually would. But when you're away from home and things aren't going to plan initially, to still be able to stick to your plan like they did and just slowly get yourself back into the game, build your momentum, and then quite often we see in sport when a team comes back from a big deficit and draws or goes ahead, they almost mentally switch off. And what I found really impressive was when they got back to kind of level par or snuck their heads in front, they had the kind of mental aptitude to finish it off, and that was really, really impressive. And ensuring that Claremont only got 1 bonus point.
Marcell, it's time for the House of Rugby Challenge. So earlier on, we asked you to bring in 3 items or show us 3 items, and hopefully there's a nice story behind each one of those items. So the first one was a piece of rugby memorabilia. The second was a jersey that you have swapped and held on to. And the third was something non-rugby that you treasure. So I'm really looking forward to these stories. So the first one, a piece of rugby memorabilia. What is it and what's the story behind it?
Well, I think at the time, you were about to embark on your professional rugby career, and my mate used to train at a training facility where PSPs used to train, and he knew I was a big PSPs fan, and he sort of managed to get a Springbok jersey signed for me from PSPs just as I was about to embark on the Sharks game, and when he surprised me that for Christmas, ironically enough, I just got this and I was thinking to myself, wow, this was so cool, and on the jersey he wrote a verse from the Bible, one of my favorite verses, that your best is yet to come, and that was just before me embarking on my professional career. So that was just something to hold on to and just remember when the going gets tough, words from a wise man, so.
It's crazy to think the impact that somebody like a player can have on someone so young. Ian, have you ever been inspired by somebody or met your heroes, or who did you look up to as a young Leinster player?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, remember Raj coming in when I was in first year in school. So I'd say he would have been maybe mid to late 20s. I was about 12. So he came in. I think it was part of some brand ambassador he was doing with maybe Esso or Topaz, one of those. But he came in, he spoke to us. He was absolutely brilliant, and I remember getting his autograph and just absolutely cherishing it and thinking this is the best thing ever. Another one was actually Andrew Trimble from who Marcell would have played with in Ulster. He came in and spoke to us when I was in fourth year in school, so a small bit more mature. So it would have been about 15, and he came in and he just gone professional then. He was probably about 20 or 21, and he actually spoke about his faith. He's a very religious man, and his kind of work ethic and how hard he's worked to get to where he is. And I remember touring with him a few years later and saying, oh, you probably don't remember this, but you might have, you came in and you spoke to our year and you actually had a massive impact. And it was something that he probably didn't think a whole lot of the time, but to give him the feedback and for him to see that he'd left a big impact on us, probably meant a lot to him. So no, look, it's definitely something that we're all aware of as players, the impact we can have on younger kids coming through. And, I think it's a part of it that we really enjoy, and we're very privileged to be able to, reach out to people and help out where we can.
Absolutely. Marcell, a jersey that you have swapped and held on to, which one is that?
I think the one that kind of sticks out for me, as in 2012, we played Ireland here at the Viva Stadium, and there was an Irish player making his debut at the time there, and I must say when he first came on, and I kind of watched him across me over the scrum there, and I was just thinking, there's no way this guy can be a rugby player, he just doesn't look the part for me. And ultimately, how in time I was proven so wrong, because afterwards the player gave me his jersey and we swapped jerseys afterwards, and we just managed to chat a little bit. Without knowing, a few years later, it will be Ian Henderson being my captain, here at Ulster, and a British Irish
No
Lion.
way.
So, how wrong was I in that case, So, no, look, yes, it just shows you don't judge a book by its cover at all, and he just managed to grow into one of the best players, we have here at the club and in Ireland, and it's just phenomenal being captain with him as well. His leadership quality shows. And I think we miss that actually at the moment as well, just that calmness and experience that he brings, So, yeah, I think that is a story that will really stick out with me, not knowing that we would be teammates one day or where the road might lead us, and ultimately led to Ulster and us, and we're just laughing about the story now.
That's a really nice story. It's like almost Ian and yourself planted it so that it would be told as a good story in the future.
Yeah, I think even leading into the Lions tour this summer, if the Guinness Pro 16 as it could be ran before that, I think it would create great excitement going into that Lions tour. And I suppose on that, Morris, I'm sure you've got great memories of the tour back in 2009, and tell us about your ambitions of getting into that squad for the Lions tour this summer.
Yeah, well, if you mentioned 2009, I was 18 years old, watching the games that took place, and I could just remember the physicality of both sides. Particularly that second test up at Loftus. It was really brutal, physical and brutally, and everything you wanted as a spectator at the time. It's weird to think that was 12 years ago almost. And now there's an opportunity to maybe put your name maybe in the hat to get an opportunity to represent it. So yeah, look, there's a huge hype in South Africa at the moment. After the World Cup, there was great happiness and joy all over the country. And you kind of wonder what's next now. And then you've got the Lions coming in 2 years' time. So no, look, the whole South Africa is very excited about it. We as players, I think every player at the moment is just want to be consistent in his performance and just make a bit of noise, maybe just to want to be a part of that mix. Like you said, it only comes every 12 years. So. I was 18 at the time, and then I'll probably be 30 if the games take place. I'm not gonna say that too loud now, but yeah, it's like I said, 100%. So no, look, it's a spectacle, and I think it's one of the great tournaments or series we can host on our soil. It is the Lions Tour.
Bring us back to the conversation that you had with Rassie Erasmus in 2019 ahead of the Rugby World Cup.
Oh yeah. So basically, you sort of at the tournament where the season came to its end, and I went on holiday for 3 weeks in South Africa. One of my favorite places is my guest house. They're close to the Kruger National Park. Kind of a big bushman. I enjoy that side of South Africa a lot. And yeah, I just didn't hear anything. And it was 2 3 weeks. The day I was meant to fly back to Belfast the next day. I actually got the phone call from Rassie, and it was just so unexpectedly. I had to report to camp on the Monday, and yeah, for not being in the team for a while, and stepping into that format and meeting new guys and old mates like Eben and Peter Steph and those guys, it was just great to see them again in that setup, and you sort of kind of got the sense as you were there in the following days, something special was going to brew.
House of Rugby Ireland, here on Joe, together with Guinness. Game changed.